can do at home is grow some plants. And you might be thinking, I don't want to go to the store. I can't go to the store for various reasons. I'm going to show you something that you can do, or most people can do pretty easily. And that is study plants, study structure, function, diversity, growth, photosynthesis, cellular respiration, all sorts of science ideas, biology ideas in your own kitchen. So in this picture, we have a couple of cherry tomatoes on my kitchen counter. Right, here's the plant. Week 1, this week. So by the end of this week, plant at least 5 seeds that you find in your kitchen. I want you to start a journal. Make a dedicated place, a file folder, a file, a paper journal, plus a file, whatever you want to do where you can keep your data for the entirety of this experiment. We're going to do this experiment for the next several weeks. So start with a plan of how you're going to store your data, because you're going to need it when you write this up. Take a picture of several seeds that you find in your kitchen. I'm going to show you some ideas of where you can find seeds in your kitchen. Decide which seeds you're going to use and take a picture of each seed, keeping a label so you know which is which. When I say you want to plant at least 5 seeds, you don't have to find 5 different things. You just want to have some backup. So if you decide to plant only 2 different types of seeds, plant a couple of each at least. Right. Once you plant your seed, take a picture of the pot with the planted seed in it. This is your time 0. Right there is no growth at time 0. So your growth at time 0 will be 0. Make a table in your notes. You can use Excel, you can use something similar, and you're going to be keeping track of growth over time. And be sure to save your pictures and label them so that you know which is which, because this is going to go over several weeks. The second week, and I would make this exactly 1 week later just to be safe. I mean, if you want, you can do it every 2 days, every 3 days, every 4 days, but do this at least once per week, and do it on the same day if you do it once per week. You want to measure any plants that have emerged. Do it in centimeters if you can. Be as exact as possible, and take a picture of each plant. Record those measurements and write down some observations in your journal. So stare at your plants, write down some observations, maybe make a note of what the weather's been like. Save your pictures in a file where you can find it later. You want to do this every week until the last week of class. Now, what you're going to be turning in the last week of class, you're going to make a graph using Excel or something similar of growth as a function of time and of the type of plant. So keep track of which plant is which and keep track of your data. Write your conclusions about what you observed. You want to refer to your observations, right? This is where you might want to refer to observations about what you saw, what kind of weather there was. You want to talk about things you might now understand about growth and time and those types of plants, ideas you might have related to that, and include references to your pictures. So include your pictures and refer to them in your conclusions. When you turn this in, I want you to include a copy of your journal with your observations. And so if you kept a paper journal, please take the time to type it up. You want to have sort of a formal thing that you turn in. I can see what types of observations you were making each week. Label your pictures. Again, you could do that on PowerPoint. You can do that on Word. You can do that by hand and then scan it in. You can do that by hand and then take a picture with your phone. And you also want to include, of course, a copy of your graph when you turn in your assignment. All right, so I've made a little video to explain how we do this. So take something like a yogurt cup. Any brand of yogurt cup will do. And then you're going to need to put some drain holes in it. And so what I would do is just invert it on a plate. And the easiest thing for me to do is going to be to take a skewer and to just stick some holes in it. So I would put, I don't know, several holes in it, evenly spaced. You end up with something that looks like this. Take your yogurt cup and then you want to scoop some soil into it. And you can just go dig some soil out of your yard. All right, I would make sure nobody's upset with where you're stealing the soil from. Just dig some soil out of your yard. And you want to put it in your yogurt cup. Don't fill the yogurt cut all the way up because we're going to want to put a cover on this, a plastic cover, to keep the soil moist. All right, now you want to choose a seed. Well, there's lots of seeds around your house. You might have something like quinoa or dry beans. Crushed red pepper does have some whole seeds in it, so it's worth a try. You could grow a pepper plant. Fennel seed, chia seeds, popcorn. Even if you just got popcorn from a popcorn bag, you could rinse the buttery stuff off. You can have something like bird seed. These are sunflower seeds out of my bird seed, or even a tomato. My general rule is you want to plant your seed about as deep as it is long. Right, so for instance, if I take a kidney bean, right, this kidney bean is about as big as my ring finger nail, a little bit bigger. So I want to plant that about as deep as my ring finger nail. I take the kidney bean, I stick it over here in the soil, and then I just push it in until my fingernail is covered. Boop! And I would recommend putting more than one seed, just because we like to hedge our bets a little bit. Boop! I cover over your seed, and then you want to get it nice and wet. So you can squirt it. Here's my little water squirter. Or you could just very gently water this from your sink. You just want to make sure it's good and uniformly wet. All right, if you are a gardener, you might be thinking, well, I could have wet it before I planted the seed. Yeah, I would go there too. Either way is fine though. I just wanted to make this as neat as possible. All right, you are going to want some sort of a plate underneath your seed so that when the water soaks through, it doesn't get all over the place. Now we're going to pause this video for a second. Okay, we've just planted our seed. We want to keep the soil moist, and that's going to encourage the seed to germinate. All right, so one of the best ways to do this is to take a piece of plastic wrap and just place it over your cup. The most important thing to think about when getting your seeds to germinate or to sprout or start is they need to be relatively warm. A lot of people will put these in a windowsill or something like that. That's a good choice. You could just put it in a warm place for the beginning. What I would do is just check it daily and mist it with your sprayer just to keep it moist. You're going to want to put something under it. You can leave the plate if you've got a windowsill that's wide enough. I don't right here in my kitchen, so I'm just going to model that using the lid of a coffee can. All right, so here's my lid of my coffee can. I'm going to take my cute little planter and I'm going to stick it in the window, relatively warm. And what you want to do is observe this over the next few weeks. And we're going to do a assignment where you record your data over the next few weeks and tell me what you see. All right, here are some options. If you don't happen to have a skewer, here's the skewer that I use to poke the hole. All right, you could instead take something like a knife. You just want to be careful. I'm going to try to do this with my left hand, and I am right-handed. All right, so you could take a knife, and you could just very carefully put a hole in bottom of your yogurt container. Woo! That was not very carefully. But it still worked. So I would put several of those. This was ended up being a gash. Try to be a little bit more careful because you do need drainage. Again, you just need a small container. Something like a yogurt container would probably be good. I wouldn't use metal because metal can be rusty. Let me show you one of the other kinds of seeds you can plant because it's a little bit different. So if you take your soil, I'm going to wet this first this time because I'm going to be using a different kind of seed. Get it nice and wet. And I'm actually going to take a cherry tomato and squeeze it. See those seeds? Those are seeds. And we just want to bury those. So I've buried my cherry tomato seeds, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the last one. I'll put a little plastic wrap on that and stick it in a window and see if we get a tomato plant out of it. So you should have something around your house that is a seed. I recommend that you look around, try at least 2, maybe 3 different things, because that's how science is done, right? You want to try a few different things when you're just exploring and see what's going to work. All right, good luck with your gardening.